cabinet meeting, the insurance, FDI in insurance has been cleared. That is what we are getting to hear. The cabinet meeting at the Prime Minister's residence, 7 RCR, has ended, and there were big decisions that were expected at this meet. What we are being told at this point of time is cabinet has given its nod to several key reforms. This is the Prime Minister who's pushing on his reforms agenda. The Prime Minister wants FDI in pension, 26%, wants to increase FDI in insurance from 26 to 49%. And in this cabinet, in this crucial cabinet meeting, pension bill, FDI in pension, we are told, has been cleared. We are getting more details on this. More money expected, money that is desperately required at this stage. And the information is FDI cap on insurance raised to 49%. Josie, this is on expected lines. The question is, will the Prime Minister be able to push this through?
Right, that's anybody's guess, right, Gaurav, in the sense, now the cabinet has cleared it, but the big move will be to getting it passed through Parliament. That's anybody's guess, and at the time that the bill is introduced in Parliament, it depends on who the UPA has on its side and who it doesn't have on its side. But having said that, it's a long-awaited move. Both these moves, what they do is they open up long-term capital which kind of gestation of about 20-30 years, which is critical for infrastructure financing in this country. It opens up doors for that kind of capital, and if it goes through, you could see some of those really dream big-ticket infrastructure projects taking off in this country.
Okay, so also with us is Sunil Alag. Sunil Alag, when we were talking, earlier today about market sentiment, now just with this FDI in insurance and FDI in pension coming up in cabinet, markets crossed the 19,000 mark. The sentiments, business confidence index, do you see that go higher now?
Yeah, I think most of these moves have been long overdue, and if they are stopped, they'll be stopped for political reasons and not for economic reasons. Look at where the nation is today. We have a high fiscal deficit. We have a rising foreign exchange debt. We have to import oil, which we'll need foreign exchange for. And as it was said earlier, I think by one of the economists, that look, India can print rupees, but they can't print dollars. Now, unless we have either our exports rising or foreign direct investment coming in, where is the foreign exchange going to be available for servicing foreign exchange debt or the imports that we need? Now, the immediate problem with all this is that you will have a political lot saying, well, look at some insurance companies overseas. They've gone down, they've done everything wrong, and therefore the same thing will happen. I'm sure Mamta's government and the CPM will say all these things will lead to a disaster as far as the average person in India is concerned. I don't think so, because India is not following a model. We are not abdicating our regulatory issues.
Okay.
You cannot allow a pension fund and insurance fund to invest in any direction they like. If they do that, yes, then what the CPM or what Mamta is saying is right. But if we keep our insurance and our as far as our funds are concerned, and if they are managed that they can only invest in certain areas,
yes,
what's the problem? Where are we going to get these long-term funds, as was just pointed out? We need people with patience funds. And the only ones who have patient funds are good insurance and good pension funds. None of the others have it.
Okay, Mamta Banerjee, of course, not too impressed. You were talking about Mamta Banerjee a moment ago. Now, Mamta Banerjee wrote on Facebook, loot chalche, loot, jhoot chalche, jhoot. Loot is going on, lies are being told. That is what Mamta Banerjee is saying. Of course, she is no longer a part of the UPA. Let me bring in headlines today's associate editor, Mayur Shekhar Jha, for the latest. Mayur, the Prime Minister has his foot firmly on the reforms pedal. Take us through what has been cleared.
Absolutely, Gaurav. There were all sorts of theories going on that all of this could just be, buzz in the air, and at the end of the day, government might just refuse to bite the bait. But that's something that the government has not done. Government has decided to walk the reform path. The Prime Minister earlier had said that if we go down, let's go down fighting. So the Prime Minister has stuck to it, Gaurav, and the government has cleared two of the most contentious reform measures that these have been the most contentious reform measures over the last 8 years. The government has now opened the pension fund for foreign investment, and also it has opened the insurance sector to 49%. It has raised the investment cap in the insurance sector. Remember, Gaurav, at this point in time, it's just a statement of intent as far as the government is concerned, because these issues cannot be executed just by an executive order. These are things that need to be taken to the parliament. The government will need these reform measures to be ratified by the parliament. But at this point in time, the markets have given a thumbs up to the sheer intent of the government, that the government does not want to go back on the reform path. These are two reform measures that in itself, if implemented, Gaurav, in a matter of 1 or 2 quarters, are capable of bringing in foreign direct investment to the tune of $30 billion. That's a huge amount of money, huge enough to support some of the most ambitious social sector programs of the UPA that are going to be politically extremely relevant, because next year will be the last year of this government. So the government also needs money, not only for giving a message to the industry, not only for giving for boosting the sentiment of the market. The government also needs money for the politically relevant social programs such as the food security bill. This is where the money will come from.
Yes,
in case
but for that it has to be cleared.
to ensure
It
that
has
these
to
bills
go
see the light
through,
of the day.
the Agni Pariksha of Parliament. And Javed Ansari, a political editor, now joins me. Javed, the Prime Minister, may want reforms. He may have his foot on the reforms pedal and say, there's no going back, we go down fighting. Where are the numbers? Either in Lok Sabha, more so in Rajya Sabha.
Look, Gaurav, as far as the numbers in the Lok Sabha are concerned, the government may still be able to muscle up just about enough numbers to save the day for itself. But Rajya Sabha, the government is clearly in a minority, even when Mamta and DMK were supporting it. Now with Mamta out, they are in a hopeless minority. And the only way that this decision can become law is if the BJP decides to bail them out in the upper house and also support them in the lower house, in the Lok Sabha. The BJP 6 months ago, when this proposal was first mooted, had indicated that they would support FDI and pension, provided the cap that they had suggested on insurance was kept at 26. Now that the government has changed, and given the changed political environment, the elections to Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh have been announced, so the entire political scenario has undergone a change. Whether under this political scenario the BJP will stick and will be true to its word remains to be seen.
But as you pointed out, Yashwant Sinha, he had said cap on insurance 26% and not 49%. The government has gone ahead with 49%. Now, in this change scenario, can the government expect the BJP to bail it out?
Well, it's a very tough call for both the government and the BJP. The BJP also, this is a challenge for the BJP, because the BJP also cannot be seen as blindly opposing reform. The government has thrown this gauntlet at the BJP. The BJP realizes there's a vast constituency out there which is a bit surprised and a bit disappointed with the blind opposition that the BJP has resorted to as far as FDI and retail is concerned. Because let's not forget, it was the NDA government which at first moved a paper says, proposing 100% FDI.
Okay, Javed, stay on
retail.
with me for a moment. Loot chalche, loot says Mamta Banerjee. What does Saugata Roy say of the Trinamool Congress? Let's listen in.
What is the Trinamool going to do? It seems that the government is unrelenting in taking anti-people measures. The Trinamool will oppose all these measures unrelentingly. We had opposed it, remaining inside the government. Due to our opposition, the pension bill could not come to Parliament earlier. We shall oppose it still in Parliament. I feel that most political parties will find it difficult to support these anti-people measures, both introduction of 26% FDI in pension and 49% in insurance will jeopardize the security, social security of the middle classes. And I am sure that the middle classes all over the country will come forward to oppose this, and the political parties, even though supporting the government, will find it difficult to support this in Parliament. So both these measures will require parliamentary approval, and we shall oppose it in Parliament, as well as create an atmosphere of opposition in the whole country against these measures.
So if you want to bring a resolution, would you be talking to the other opposition parties or other allies?
No, it remains to be seen in what form the government brings this forward. If they bring a bill, then there are certain ways of opposing a bill. If they bring a resolution, there are certain ways of opposing it. Because FDI in retail will not require parliamentary approval. We can bring it the opposition in the form of a resolution. If they bring it in the form of an amendment bill, then we shall oppose the amendment bill in Parliament in every parliamentary way possible.
So one last question. Many of the Congress leaders have been saying that it is time that the Trinamool leader should learn from being an agitator to an administrator. What do you have to say about that?
That is a ridiculous statement made by a youngster from the Congress party who has never been a minister in life. He must realize that Mamata Banerjee has come where she has come through a long period of sustained struggle. And she realizes the needs and aspirations of people better than any youngsters or any upstart from the Congress. We shall govern in West Bengal. We shall agitate against the anti-people policies of the center throughout the country.
दादा पहले रिटेल और उसके बाद इंश्योरेंस और पेंशन में कैबिनेट में मौजूद हुई एफडीआई आपकी पार्टी कैसे देख रही है?
हमारी पार्टी देख रहा है कि सरकार बड़े पूंजीपतियों को और विदेशी राष्ट्रों को खुश करने के लिए एकदम कदम बढ़ा रहे हैं और ऐसा लगता है कि तृणमूल कांग्रेस अब तक था वो लोग कुछ कर नहीं पा रहे थे तो बहुत खुशी है कि अभी बड़े पूंजीपतियों को और विदेशी राष्ट्र को वो खुशी करेंगे। हम उनका जो जन विरोधी कदमें हैं उसको पूरा ताकत से विरोध करेंगे, इसको खिलाफ लड़ेंगे, जनता को जागरूक करेंगे और लोकसभा और राज्यसभा के अंदर इसके खिलाफ हम लड़ाई छेड़ेंगे। ठीक है जॉन, तो he is my student.
So Shaugata Roy there saying we'll oppose it not only in both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha but also on the streets. He's calling these anti-people measures. Let's also listen in to CPI's D. Raja.
These steps taken by the Congress-led UPA 2 government, if government tries to manipulate to win the vote in parliament, they will get exposed. We had the experience, the cash for vote in Indian parliament, and that should not be repeated. And we hope the political parties, looking at the anger, protest that prevails in the country, they will take a principled position. These decisions are retrograde, reactionary. They are not in the interest of the nation. They are against people, anti-people steps, and all political parties must oppose. And left will continue to oppose. Left, in fact, will try to reach out to other parties also.
Mm-hmm. So tell me one thing, what do you think poses a greater risk? Opening up the pensions sector because it contains the savings of a lifetime. And once you open that to risks of speculation, then perhaps a minimum income will not be guaranteed at a time when a person cannot fight anymore.
Definitely, because we do not have an universal social security network in India. In such a situation, you can't allow the lifelong savings of the employees, workers, the working people to a risk. And it is nothing but gamble. You allow the foreign capital or domestic corporate capital to come in and play havoc and gamble. In fact, as far as pension funds are concerned, if you allow FDI, if you allow the corporate sector to enter into, they will invest less, but they will strive for a bigger profit. And it is a huge risk, and you can't expose the pension funds to such a huge risk and gamble. And this is a very disastrous move, and we have been opposing and we will continue to oppose. It is nothing but World Bank's prescription. It is World Bank which has said that the governments should withdraw from these pension schemes. Now government will not have any social responsibility. Government will not have any contribution to accrue the pension funds, and government will not have anything to do with that. But government will decide that FDI can come in, the corporate sector can come in, they can use the pension funds for their own profit, thereby making the lifelong savings of the people exposed to risk and gambling.
Yeah. So do you think that the government is desperate?
Government is definitely desperate. Government is definitely desperate, and government is tilting more and more towards right-wing economic policies. Right-wing economic policies. In fact, at one point of time, Time magazine wrote, the Prime Minister is an underachiever. Now, whether he wants to please the international finance capital by taking such anti-people and measures which are not in the interest of the nation, it is government will have to explain, and people understand what is what. This government is so desperate, and this government is shamelessly biased in favor of multinational companies and corporate houses.
Thank you. Right. Listen.
So both Mamata Banerjee and the left on the same page. Mamata Banerjee says, loot chalche, loot. And here you heard what D. Raja was saying. D. Raja clearly saying that the government is only appeasing the United States of America and big companies, big corporations there. What does this mean? FDI in pension, FDI in insurance, the cap raised to 49%. Padmaja Joshi now takes us through government's reform blitz 2.
Well, it's phase 2 of the government's reform blitz. The left might call it a desperate move, but the markets are certainly happy. They are calling this government resurgent. The two of the big ticket announcements. There are a few more as well. Let's take you through them. In part 2, they've of course given clearance to 49% FDI in insurance, up from the earlier 26%. As for the pension fund, now 26% FDI in pension funds will be allowed. It's got the stamp of approval from the cabinet. Will it make it through parliament? That remains the crucial question before the government. Now let's tell you what the government's pitch for insurance reform is. At present, India's insurance market stands at a $66.5 billion. The government aims that in the next 3 years, by 2014, it should grow by several more crores. They want that 23 crore policies, 8 lakh crores under management, 70% of the market share. But this is in dire need of reform. They want more players to come in as far as insurance is concerned. Insurance penetration at present stands at a 5.1%, and this is what the UPA wants to change. They want this figure to get better. Like D. Raja himself was saying, the image that the government has at present is that of an underachiever, of course led by the Prime Minister himself. They want to attract more investors to get the economy moving. The government's aim is to bring in more FDI, to boost private players, and in fact to boost the investor sentiment as well. Reaction coming in now from the Trinamool Congress chief Mamata Banerjee.
এবং এটা এখনো দেওয়া হবে যতক্ষণ পর্যন্ত তারা নিজের পায়ে না দাঁড়াবে। শিবপুরে যারা আন্দোলন করেছিলেন তাদেরও কিন্তু আমরা জেনে রাখবেন, যেহেতু কোর্টে কেস আছে, জমিটা আমরা নিয়ে নিয়েছি, সরকার একটা কেস আছে, বিচারাধীন আছে, সেই জন্য যতক্ষণ পর্যন্ত না মিটবে, আমরা না ফিরিয়ে দিতে পারছি, ততক্ষণ শিবপুরের ওই কৃষক পরিবারগুলোকে, ক্ষেত মজদুর পরিবারগুলোকে আমরা মাসে 2000 টাকা করে দিচ্ছি এবং মাসে 16 কেজি করে চাল আমরা 2 টাকা করে দিচ্ছি। তার কারণ হচ্ছে মানুষগুলো দাঁড়িয়ে যাবে। ট্রাইবাল কমিউনিটি যখন হবে সব বিপিএল টিকার করেছি। আমি জানি বিপিএল কার্ড অনেকের এখনো হয়নি। কেন হয়নি? আগের সরকার উল্টো কাজটা করে গেছে আর আমাদের কাজ চলছে। এটা কেন্দ্রীয় সরকারকে পারমিশন দিতে হয়। আমরা অপেক্ষা করে আছি কেন্দ্রীয় সরকারের ক্লিয়ারেন্স দিলে। ওটা হয়ে গেলেই বাদবাকি যাদের বিপিএল কার্ড এখনো হয়নি তাদেরও আমরা করে দেবো। আমরা যেহেতু এটা কেন্দ্রীয় সরকারের প্রকল্প, তারা দিলে আমরা এটা করে দেবো। এইভাবে অনেক কাজ আছে, কাজ আমাদের শুরু হয়েছে, কাজ আমাদের শেষ হবে সেদিন। আমি দেখতে চাই দক্ষিণ 24 পরগনা জেলা আমরা দুটো গভীর বন্দর তৈরি করবো এই জেলায়। একটা তো মেদিনীপুর এবং দক্ষিণ 24 পরগনার মাঝামাঝি রসুলপুরে ডিপ সি পোর্ট তৈরি হচ্ছে, আর একটা আমরা সাগরে গভীর সমুদ্র বন্দর তৈরি করছি। আমরা সাগরের যে সি বিচ আছে সেটাকে ঢেলে সাজানোর জন্য উদ্যোগ নিচ্ছি। আমরা আফ্রিকান সাফারি গাছে সুন্দরবনকে তৈরি করব পৃথিবীর নবমতম আশ্চর্য সুন্দরবন। সুন্দরবনে পৃথিবীর সব মানুষকে আমরা ডেকে নিয়ে আসবো। কি নেই আমাদের? সমুদ্র আছে, বন্দর আছে, অরণ্য আছে, গভীর অরণ্য আছে। সমুদ্র ধ্বংস হয়ে যাচ্ছিল, প্রায় ম্যানগ্রোভ গাছগুলো মরে যাচ্ছিল। আমরা 1 কোটি গাছ পোঁতার একটা পরিকল্পনা আমার জেলা শাসক নিগম সাহেব করেছেন। সুতরাং এইভাবে অনেক কাজ আছে, অনেক কাজ আমরা করব এবং এই জেলার মানুষ বাইরে গিয়ে কান্নাকাটি করতে হবে না, যে শিল্প এই জেলায় তৈরি হয়ে যাবে। আগামী 4-6 মাসের মধ্যে দেখতে পাবেন কাজকর্ম চলবে, কাজকর্ম